Welcome to Matters Financial and Geopolitical from the Frontier. Thank you for stopping by. I'm always grateful. I had a great evening last night with Mr. and Mrs. Charles Ireland. We had a tasting session of Singleton whiskey, which actually I quite like. And it's quite sweet. And they had this cocktail of the whiskey, Madaf, which is coconut juice, which I like and I have regularly. That's what is in here, and some sugarcane juice of all things. And then we went and had a very fine dinner at the Norfolk. So enjoyed myself, and thank you, Charles. Our full interview, I went into that meeting with the governor, and he said, "Well, how long are we going to take?" And I said, "Oh, no more than 20 minutes." And we spoke for 55 minutes, so do take a look. It's pretty detailed, and obviously a prequel to the session that we've got in front of us next Saturday. He's very erudite, I thought, literary, transparent and frank, and ahead of the curve, speaking of the new normal. Joshua calls him an exponential pragmatist and a masterstroke fellow. I'm looking forward to being at the Doha Forum, in point of fact, from tomorrow, catching a flight later on today. This is the day one of the forum. I found it by a tweet. 601 days ago, I took this photo of Doha from the sky. And in August 2011, I wrote a piece when I visited Al Jazeera about soft power and Qatar. Take a look at that. I like this photograph of Haile Selassie posing with leopards in front of the Jubilee Palace in Addis Ababa in 1962. That took me back to a wonderful book called The Emperor by Richard Kapuscinski. The Emperor of Ethiopia began his day by listening to informers' reports. The night breeds dangerous conspiracies, and Haile Selassie knew that what happens at night is more important than what happens during the day. During the day, he kept an eye on everyone. At night, that was impossible. For that reason, he attached great importance to the morning reports. And here I would like to make one thing clear. His Venerable Majesty was no reader. The custom of relating things by word of mouth had this advantage. If need be, the emperor could say that a given dignitary had told him something quite different from what had really been said. It was the same with writing, for our monarch not only never used his ability to read, but he also never wrote anything and never signed anything in his own hand. Though he ruled for half a century, not even those closest to him knew what his signature looked like. David Yarrow, my goal was to capture a rhino charging towards the camera in its casing. There should be menacing proximity. Certainly, that's what it looks like here. Political Reflections' most recent A320 crash was the Russian airliner Metrojet, an A321, brought down by a suspected Islamic militant bomb over Egypt's Sinai. The cause to this disaster is not that clear yet. This is MS-804, but clearly I think it was a terrorist attack of some kind or another. The A320 aircraft went down about halfway between the Greek island of Crete and Egypt's coastline, around 175 miles offshore. There were no signs of survivors. I take you back to those thoughts I had in 2014 about the new arrhythmic normal, whose arrival was signaled by the disappearance of MH370. I said then, since then, planes have been falling out of the sky like flies, and the uncertainty around MH370 and MH17 is sharpened by the way the stories seemingly turned on and off. Took me back to Don DeLino. We're not witnessing the flow of information. so much as pure spectacle or information made sacred, ritually unreadable. The small monitors of the office, home and car become a kind of idolatry here, where crowds might gather in astonishment. Currency markets: the euro 112.18, dollar index 95.32, Japanese yen 110.21, Swissy 0.9917, the pound 145.70, the Aussie 0.7239, India rupee 67.345, South Korean won 11.9019, Brazilian real 356.36, Egyptian pound 887.89, and the rand 15.79 when I looked last. We had this very big dollar push higher after the Fed minutes came out, but we're seeing some of that tapering off now. Dollar index 95.32. It's defended that 93 level and now moved up above it, and therefore I think, notwithstanding the violation, it remains positive from a chart point of view, and from a fundamental point of view. I think we saw a very similar thing happen in the first quarter last year. US economy slowed down, then picked up speed again. I think we'll see the same thing. Jamie at Reuters tweeted, where the 10-year US Treasury yield goes, so do Eurozone bank stocks. Look at the correlation, it's pretty close. Japan's Nikkei ended up 0.5%, extending its weekly gains to almost 2% as the yen weakened beyond the 110 level. The Nikkei and the yen have a very inverse correlation. Spot gold 1254.85. It touched a 3-week low yesterday, or was it the day before, 1244. Metal is down 1.5% for the week, its biggest drop since the week ended March 25th. I'll put up a 6-month chart of gold. We've got to keep an eye on it here. Crude oil, look at the sell-off and then the rebound that we had back at $49.05. That's WTI. Emerging markets, I like these photographs about Iran. One is Iran Garden in Shiraz. The second is the Pink Mosque, Nasir ul Mulk Mosque, which is a historic site in Shiraz. Let's move on to Africa. Congo's president shows would-be successor who's in charge. You won't scare us, was how the Congolese leadership responded this week to Western threats of sanctions, unless President Joseph Kabila ends his 15 years in power by holding an election on schedule in November. In a message that has also been delivered in various ways to Moise Katumbi, a former close ally of the president now seeking to replace him, a measure of Kabila's apparent determination to stay in power and his mastery of the means to do so. Hours before Katumbi announced he would run for president, he was accused of hiring US mercenaries for a coup plot. On Friday, police fired tear gas at him. Thousands of his supporters outside the prosecutor's office. The standoff in the vast Central African country, which has never known a peaceful transfer of power, could become a violent showdown between Kabila, who succeeded his assassinated father, and Katumbi, former governor of Katanga province. The government says it is unlikely to be able to organize the presidential poll on time due to budgetary and logistical constraints. The country's highest court ruled a week ago that Kabila would stay in power until elections could be held. You can come up with anything you like, sanctions or whatever, you won't scare us, says a Kabila loyalist. Leading opposition parties say the court ruling is part of a constitutional coup d'etat and have called for nationwide marches on May 26 to demand Kabila step down this year. Cohesion in the Kabila camp has been maintained these last months. At this stage, there is little to no pressure on him. Known during his governorship as Moise Katumbi for distributing $100 bills to the public, Katumbi has been keen to present himself as the face of the people against a predatory state. The greatest army in the world is the people, he often says. The government fears it because he has the potential to mobilize an electorate in different parts of the country, said Chris Bearwoods, an independent Congo analyst. There is an aura of success around him. Delaying tactics will work for a certain moment of time and buying months, maybe several more years in power, he said, but it's not a long-term strategy. Indeed, it isn't. And then we learned yesterday that Congo has issued an arrest warrant for presidential hopeful Katumbi. Thursday's announcement represents a significant escalation in the political crisis in the Congo since Jason Stearns, who was thrown out not too long ago. This is an attempt to politically eliminate the main challenger. I concluded by saying Katumbi is a formidable challenger. Kabila has to tread carefully because he could get Ouagadougou. 2014, I wrote Ouagadougou's signal to sub-Saharan Africa. Take a look at that. And then last year I was speaking about how, the revolutionary contingent attains its ideal form not in the place of production, but in the street. In his book Speed and Politics, Paul Virilio says the revolutionary contingent attains its ideal form not in the place of production, but in the street, where for a moment it stops being a cog in the technical machine, and itself becomes a motor, machine of attack. In other words, a producer of speed. As we look around the world today, we can see a battle for the street, from the streets of Bujumbura to the streets of Baltimore. In November last year, I wrote about Ouagadougou's signal to sub-Saharan Africa and concluded that we need to ask ourselves, how many people can an incumbent shoot stone cold dead in such a situation? 100? 1,000? 10,000? This is another point. There is a threshold beyond which the incumbent cannot go. Where that threshold lies will be discovered in the throes of the event. Therefore, the preeminent point to note is that protests in Burkina Faso achieved escape velocity. That's what Kabila is trying to make sure doesn't happen. But, I watched a couple of documentaries. This fellow is very popular. I put up a photograph of Moishi Katumbi. Piercing Zuma's bubble is an article in the Daily Maverick saying Zuma has been able to wriggle out of responsibility for every problem and disaster he has found himself in up to now. Even though he was found to have illegally acted inconsistently with the Constitution and might have allowed liberties to his friends in the affairs of government for their financial benefit, there could be no consequence for his actions. It is no wonder that the president is so jolly and laughs so frequently. When it comes to political survival, it seems Zuma is simply unconquerable. South African all-share up 3.31% this year. Dollar rand, that softened considerably on all the noise that we've been seeing, Gordon speaking out and so forth. Egyptian EGX 30 up 7.04% year to date. Fell 1.8% yesterday. Well, that's hardly unexpected. President Buhari returned to Abuja this evening. Photograph of him. We didn't just want to put up a photograph. Nigerian Naira devaluation, 2 interest rate hikes expected this year. This is Reuters. Nigeria Central Bank will devalue the Naira in the next few months. All but 1 of 12 analysts polled in the past few days said the currency would be devalued. Nigeria has again come under immense pressure to devalue the official Naira exchange rate, and the probability of this happening in the near term is high in our view. Listed risks such as severe production shock, forex shortages spilling over to the monetary environment, unions becoming more vocal, and growing opposition to a stable Naira within government circles as pressure to devalue. The Naira traded at a record low versus the dollar in the non-deliverable forwards market on Tuesday, with markets betting on a devaluation to tackle a spiraling economic crisis. On the official market, the central bank has put in place controls to make sure the currency does not fall below 199. Analysts were skeptical, saying the devaluation would be announced next Tuesday, when the central bank is due to announce any changes to monetary policy. Some people talking about a dual currency exchange rate. Redcap's Charlie Robertson said authorities would be reluctant to float the naira. They may instead introduce Venezuela dual-style exchange rates with an officially endorsed parallel rate at around 285 to the dollar. I said the president has been betting the equivalent of a single number in the roulette wheel. He's been betting against the curve of history. Soros, Thai Baht, there are too many others to mention. Needs to try and stay in charge of the process and keep it orderly. Any further delay risks a disorderly Caracas outcome, I said. I wrote about this in February 2016 when I said Nigeria, the biggest economy in sub-Saharan Africa, will surely contract in 2016, and not least because its president is determined not to devalue the naira. I said the curve of history from Soros skinning the Bank of England in 1992 to the Mexican peso crisis in 1994 to the Thai baht crisis in 1998, many more too numerous to mention, confirm that maintaining an artificial FX rate is a fool's errand and eventually carries the risk that the breakdown spirals out of control and becomes seriously disorderly. The official naira rate is just below 200 to the dollar, but no one is holding any store by that price. And that's why absolutely no one is putting any more money in Nigeria, because they all know when the haircut is finally imposed, it's going to be a big one. I find it just extraordinary that such a brilliant president would risk it all on a bet on a single number, a game of roulette. Those are the odds. Nigeria lost all shares down 5.64% this year. Ghana Stock Exchange Composite Index is at 37-month lows, down 11.16%. The Quartz Africa, East Africa's economic coalition of the willing, is falling apart. Kenya's big vision for a coalition of the willing agreement with Uganda and Rwanda to build a major rail line and oil pipeline that would invigorate and open up East Africa's economy may be going up in smoke as its partners look elsewhere for more economically pragmatic paths to achieve their goals. First, it was Uganda. March, East Africa's third largest economy, pulled the plug on a tentative agreement with Kenya for an oil pipeline deal. Desperate bids to save the deal fell through as Tanzania said it would expedite the process for a lot less than the Kenyan route had been estimated. Then Rwanda did what took both Kenya and Uganda by surprise, opting out of the standard gauge railway with the two partners once bosom friends. Tanzania's Magufuli relishing in new gains that may usher in a radical geopolitical shift in the East African region in its favour. And I wrote about this over the weekend in Geopolitics and pipelines in East Africa. Kenya shilling 100.594, Nairobi all share up just 0.03% this year. Mr. Thakra tweeted, "The facts, Scanad clarifies this is an explanation. There's been a lot of noise about tendering practices at Safaricom." Take a look at the Scanad response. I concluded by saying nothing is local anymore, everything is global. WPP CEO is Sabatin Sorrel. WPP Scan Group share price has fallen 27.5% so far this year. Safaricom have also issued a statement on alleged corporate governance shortcomings. Safaricom share price is up 6.134% this year. NSE 20 down 4.02% year to date. Sloshed in the slow lane, how to drive drunk in Kenya. At a bar off Langata Road, a main highway in Nairobi, business has been struggling of late. The problem, the manager says, is that his bar is inconveniently positioned between crossroads where officers from the police and the National Transport and Safety Authority often put up roadblocks to check if drivers have been drinking. It is right what the government is doing, he says, but it was really squeezing us. These people, with their alco blow, have taken away all our customers. Alco blow is a breathalyzer, relatively new in Nairobi. Breathalyzers have been used at traffic stops. In March, NTSA acquired 45 new vehicles from which officers can control and pull over drivers they suspect of imbibing. And say that there's a whole network of information trying to help you avoid being interdicted. In 2013, as many as 13,000 people died on Kenya's roads. In Britain, which is a somewhat bigger population, vastly more cars, the figure was 1,700. And then they're concluding the number of Africans who can afford to buy cars and lots more beer is only going up. Yesterday, of course, exchange, we had a bit, notwithstanding what the international markets, which were in turmoil for a while, Safaricom closed up 0.87%. It's up 6.134% this year. Equity Bank up 0.625%. Standard Chartered up 2.5%. Strong session. National Bank rebounded 9.23%, but we're still down 36.19% so far this year. EABL was the most actively traded share at the exchange, eased 0.34%, up 8.79% year to date. I think the market is yet to catch up in what is a bullish story at EABL under Charles's stewardship. So I'm going to be off for a couple of days. I'm back in town on Tuesday, so the next podcast will be Wednesday, and looking forward to visiting Denmark. Thank you very much for stopping by.